What is going on, Colts Nation, and welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Wow, 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 wow. Derek, holy cow. What a crazy game for the Colts here in Berlin, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time kickoff. A lot of crazy stuff that happened today, and I know you were live streaming it, so I'm sure your heart's not still fully recovered yet from just how insane that game was. But somehow, some way, Derek, despite the frustrations, despite the everything, the Indianapolis Colts come out victorious. And honestly, Derek, we were joking off air. This was like the full cycle of the range of emotions for the Indianapolis Colts, right? You got the happiness, obviously. You got the frustration of multiple times where the Colts just kind of got in their own way. You have the depression of when the Indianapolis Colts were doing stupid stuff, and you're like, you should have scored, and then you do something really stupid, shoot yourself in the foot. It was a whole wide range of emotions. But ultimately, the last emotion is the one that matters, and that was happiness. The Indianapolis Colts, even though it was ugly, even though it was a lot of issues with this win, a win's a win. It's hard to win in this league. The Indianapolis Colts are 8-2 going into their bye. They get a chance to get some guys potentially rested, some guys back, in the next couple weeks here. What are your overall thoughts, man, on this game? Definitely a crazy one, but Colts come out victorious.
Yeah, again, it was just a lot of situations where the Colts just really beat themselves. Again, I know people like to say that a lot, but it really was the case. Again, you beat the Atlanta Falcons in almost every way. You pass the ball better, you run the ball clearly better. Time of possession, you had a lot more of it than they did. Just ultimately what really dragged you down in this was the penalties in key situations, which helped stall drives. And then obviously the turnovers that you had, clearly, that was a bad situation. And then, of course, just continuous dumb mistakes and, missed opportunities. It felt like the Colts were a little too over aggressive in this game. And it was like, I don't understand why, because you had so many situations where the Falcons were clearly trying to get immense amounts of pressure on Daniel Jones in this game, and it was getting home. And it felt like Steichen and Jones didn't really do what was necessary to, one, protect the football, but second, to combat the relentless amounts of pressure that Atlanta was putting on this team. So it was, again, another issue of the Colts did it to themselves. It is not the Falcons being able to convert on these things. It was us putting ourselves in that situation, and yet still somehow, some way, you were able to win that football game, even with all of the bad situations that you put yourself in.
Yeah, again, it was a lot of self-inflicted stuff. Like you said, you had many opportunities. I wanted to actually go into this game. Before I do that really quick, though, just want to say this episode is sponsored by FanDuel. Guys, the Indianapolis Colts right now, currently, obviously, the projected to win the division right now, negative 220 on that. We'll have to see how the rest of the Week 10 matchups go to determine kind of if those odds go up. If they stay the same, we'll have to see on that. But again, guys, shout out to FanDuel. Be sure to check them out. Derek, you talked about it. The Indianapolis Colts, really, when you look at the stats, like when you look at the pure numbers, the Colts dominated this game. And it's crazy that it had to go to overtime for the Colts to win it because, like you said, the Colts won everything except for one critical thing that really just killed them. Time of possession, they won that pretty handedly, 40 minutes to 26 minutes. Total yards, the Colts had over 500 total yards. The Falcons, not even 300. The Colts, like you said, almost 200 passing yards. The Falcons had 150. Falcons had 140 rushing yards. You had 323 rushing yards in this game, Derek, which is insane. And even with some of the other stuff, like you outgained the Falcons by 14 plays, but the critical things that killed you, you mentioned it. You had 7 penalties. The Falcons only had 3. You had 2 turnovers. The Falcons only had 1. And you allowed 7 sacks in this game. Just, Derek, back-to-back performances. Well, I'll just say it. The offensive line sucked. It was horrible. It was terrible. for the offensive line just could not protect Daniel Jones again. I know Daniel Jones has to protect the football, but at the same time, the offensive line's got to give him time, and they haven't done that for 2 straight weeks. And it's not like this Atlanta Falcons defensive line. I know they invested a lot into it in terms of the edge, but it's not a TJ Watt. There's not a TJ Watt on this defensive line. So what are your thoughts just on that offensive line and just some of the issues the Colts had at protecting Daniel Jones and also just Daniel Jones protecting the football?
I will say this. I disagree with you on the sense that the offensive line was bad today. As I said prior, I felt that the Falcons were bringing immense amounts of pressure, and I felt that Steichen was trying to throw the football so far deep that half the time the offensive line just was at a wit's end when it came to certain things. I mean, that one fumble that Daniel Jones had. I don't remember. I think it was the third quarter or the fourth quarter. I can't even remember. I think it was the third quarter.
It was third.
And
Third.
that strip sack, that's not on him. That's not on the O line. They brought a blitz off the backside that Daniel Jones knew was coming, and yet still was trying to throw the screen, even though it wasn't there. And instead of just dumping it at Jonathan Taylor's feet and just throwing it down and having an incomplete pass, that's a strip sack where Atlanta gets the ball at the 45-yard line. That's not the offensive line's fault. And another sack, too, that he took late in that game where everybody's running a 20-yard out route and comeback route. They blitzed 4 guys on one side that Jonathan Taylor missed, and Daniel Jones had to eat the sack. That's not the offensive line's fault. I mean, again, it was 7 sacks, but the majority of the sacks today came because of Daniel Jones. And that one sack, and there was one sack near the end of that game when Daniel Jones was trying to get some yardage on that last run, but, couldn't get past the last guy, and it was a result in a 1-yard loss. That's not the offensive line's fault. That's Daniel Jones. I felt that the majority of today came down to the Colts being over-aggressive in play calling and Daniel Jones not being quicker at getting the ball out, because there were a lot of unnecessary hits that Daniel Jones took, in my opinion, that were a result of him and Steichen's play calling, because we ran the ball insanely well today. And I mean, overall, Daniel Jones had time to be able to put the ball where he needed to go. I just felt that it was a mix of Daniel Jones not taking care of the football in the correct sense and Shane Steichen not helping his offensive line by calling better plays.
Sure, I get that. But also, like you said, there's 7 sacks, so the offensive line deserves some of the blame. Now, obviously, the entire offense deserves the blame. 7 sacks is unacceptable. I mean, there's no you can't go back by, you can't say anything else. Like 7 sacks, inexcusable. I don't care who you blame, but 7 sacks, you just can't have it. But anyway, Daniel Jones, like you said, definitely some issues with some not throwing the ball away, not just, trying to make too much and unfortunately losing the football. And Daniel Jones has another couple fumbles in the game. Is that concerning to you at all, Derek, about just Daniel Jones and just the turnovers that he's been, because he's been playing pretty mistake-free up until last week. Last 2 weeks, he's been turning the ball over a lot more than we're used to.
Yeah, it is very concerning because, even in some of the games prior to the last 2 weeks where he was getting pressured, he was still taking care of the football a lot better. Now, I mean, I would argue the 2 strip sacks by Daniel Jones in the Pittsburgh game, not really his fault, more of his offensive linemen getting beat on those plays. Not really his fault in that regard. The interceptions more were his fault last week. But, this week especially, I mean, you're right. The lack of just protecting the football is absolutely insane when you look at just what he was able to do today. I mean, just a bunch of, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And I think that's what's super concerning is that, for the first 7 weeks, even when we lost to the Rams, I mean, the Colts were in the first 8 weeks. I mean, Daniel Jones had very few of those, oh my gosh, what are you doing type plays. But in the last 2 weeks, I mean, it's completely unraveled. And I don't know what it is, Cody, but I don't know how to fix it. I don't know what needs to be done to fix it because right now, I mean, you're right. Daniel Jones just looks like him and Steichen are trying to do too much. I don't know because obviously you ran the ball 30 times today for the Colts. And I mean, it's so weird because you ran majority of your run plays in the second half, which again, the Colts continue to hurt themselves by trying to establish a pass early in games and not allowing Jonathan Taylor to help set that presence early in games because all you're doing is trying to pass it. And I hate that. I hate that we're doing that more consistently now when it's not working. The run game is working, and yet Shane Steichen refuses to utilize that early in games. Now, I will say this. I did love the fact that, Daniel Jones was able to finish this game. I mean, multiple times. Again, you were down 3 with a minute and a half to go in the fourth quarter. Multiple times you took a sack that looked like the game was about to be over. And then multiple times Daniel Jones made plays at the end of that game that was enough to get them in a position to win the football game, which is awesome. I'm glad that he was able to do that this time around versus what we saw against Pittsburgh. But yeah, I mean, no doubt, it's definitely a concern seeing just how sloppy and inconsistent the offense has gotten over the last 2 weeks versus what you saw the previous 8 weeks before that.
Yeah. Well, the good news is, like you said, that Daniel Jones, even though there was, especially I felt like in that first, like you said, second quarter, third quarter, I felt like in the fourth quarter, Daniel Jones looked a little bit better. He settled in a little bit. Yeah, he took a couple sacks, but you're right. Like that 19-yard scramble on third and long sets you up for fourth and short, and you're able to complete that pass to Tyler Warren. And even in overtime, what a beautiful pass and even a better catch by Tyler Warren to set you up to have Jonathan Taylor punch that in, right?
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, it was ugly. It was ugly. I mean, it was.
Yeah, it was
like,
very ugly.
But like you said, when you needed it the most in that last drive of the fourth quarter and in overtime, Daniel Jones delivered.
Yep.
And that stuff is the most important to me. Like that stuff matters a lot more than, obviously you don't want to be in that situation because ideally you don't make those mistakes, but in the crunch time, it's good to know that Daniel Jones can be a part of helping you get to where you need to go in those crunch time situations. I mean, those times are invaluable for quarterbacks, right? So, I mean, that's definitely something there, which I think is great. And so, yeah, as rough as it was, I think your offense was able to find themselves there in that fourth quarter a little bit more, even though there still was some frustrating moments, don't get me wrong. So at the end of the day, it was sloppy, but here's the good thing, Derek. You finished it, and now you have an opportunity to clean it up moving forward. You have a week off. Right. You're going to head to Arrowhead. You get a chance here to figure out what you need to do, maybe simplify some things down a little bit, make it easier on your quarterback, make it easier on your offensive line. Like you have opportunity to do that, right, which is the good thing. So that's all that to say. That's kind of where we're at right now with the Colts. So anyway, Derek, we've talked a lot about some of the negatives. Let's talk about the positives because there was a lot of positives in this game. I mean, how can you not talk about Jonathan Taylor? I mean, Derek, just a historic performance. I don't care what people say. JT's the MVP. I mean, he is to me. I mean, just another phenomenal performance today for Jonathan Taylor, Derek. I mean, this dude just continues. It's funny because I think that was his second best rushing game in Indianapolis Colts history behind his own, I'm pretty sure, which is kind of crazy when you think about that. So, I mean, he's just on another level right now, man, when you're looking at it. I mean, today, just a fantastic performance. Another hat trick for JT, 32 carries, 244 yards, 3 touchdowns, and obviously the game winner in OT. I mean, Derek, we've seen Jonathan Taylor be, the best back in the league, but I think he's taking it up a notch. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, 286 all-purpose yards, his 5th 3-touchdown game of the season. So in half the games that the Colts have played, he has scored 3+ touchdowns in. And they needed all of that today. And this is the sort of performance, Cody, that you're gives more credit to the MVP thing, where it's like, again, if not for Jonathan Taylor, this game we don't win. We don't win it. I mean, it really did come down to Jonathan Taylor and that 83-yard touchdown run, the longest touchdown run of any player this season. It was the touchdown that also, Cody, now puts Jonathan Taylor as number one in Colts franchise history in rushing touchdowns by a running back. I mean, passing the great Edgerrin James. And so now, obviously, Jonathan Taylor holds that record and will continue to build on it. And I mean, you're right. Just another phenomenal game where, you know, he couldn't be stopped. Every time he touched the ball, and like you said, in those big moments. I mean, again, the Colts down by a score late in that fourth quarter. You're back up against the wall. What do you do? And then sure enough, Jonathan Taylor does what Jonathan Taylor does. And then obviously in overtime, you barely have to throw the football outside of one catch by Warren. I mean, Jonathan Taylor took that thing all the way down the field and scored that touchdown to win it. So, I mean, it's an incredible performance. And I mean, like you said, what more do you expect from Jonathan Taylor at this point? I mean, the guy is just on another level. He just looks like as if it's just too easy for him right now. And I mean, crazy enough, Cody, this is the first time all year that Jonathan Taylor has touched the ball 30+ times in a game. So, I mean, ironically enough, so again, phenomenal. Second half, you didn't touch the ball much in the first half. I mean, only 11 of your 35 touches came in the first half. So the majority of that work came in the second half when the Colts absolutely needed it the most. So love Jonathan Taylor. I mean, again, another amazing performance. We needed all of it today because if not for him, we don't win that game.
Well, one thing we didn't mention that I wanted to mention when we were talking about the passing game is Atlanta's passing defense is elite. I mean, they're absolutely elite. So you needed Jonathan Taylor to have the type of performance he was because Atlanta could be had in the running game. I mean, when I had Kevin Knight on earlier this week, that's what we talked about. We said, got to get JT the ball early and often in this game. And I said, this could be a game where he has 30+ carries. And that was exactly the case, which is what you needed. Because Atlanta, some of the sacks, like we said, Daniel Jones needs to throw that away. But also there's a lot of good coverage out there. Some coverage sacks for sure by Atlanta. So you needed to rely on JT when it mattered the most. Derek, that 80+ yard run that you talked about, that was unbelievable by Jonathan Taylor. I mean, it looks like it's like, I don't know, what is like a third or second and short, and Jonathan Taylor goes inside, comes outside and outruns everybody. And obviously you love to see the caravan that's leading the way there with Warren. I believe it was either Pittman or Pierce out there.
Yeah, so it was Pierce and Warren out there. Yeah.
Both, guys that will block their tails off. So great stuff there from Jonathan Taylor. Like you said, passes a great Edgerrin James there for most career rushing touchdowns in Indianapolis Colts franchise history, which is insane when you think about it. So Jonathan Taylor now 15 rushing touchdowns this year, Derek, which is nuts to me through 10 games that Jonathan Taylor does this. If he keeps this up, man, he might break the rushing touchdown record for a season if he keeps this up. He is unbelievable. So Jonathan Taylor, what can you say, man? Just a phenomenal performance from him. And obviously the game winner there. And he just wasn't going to be stopped. He wasn't going to be denied. It's so great when you have a player as great as Jonathan Taylor where you don't even have to go out there and kick the game-winning field goal. He's just going to do it himself and win you the game. But that's the type of greatness we're seeing from Jonathan Taylor. It's truly, truly amazing to witness. So, Jonathan Taylor, what can you say? I mean, we could talk about him forever, but he's obviously the best player on this Colts offense, no doubt. The best player in the NFL, no doubt. So, shout out to Jonathan Taylor there. Now, Derek, when you kind of look at some other stats here from this Colts offense, Tyler Warren, a breakout game. I'm so bummed, Derek. Tyler Warren couldn't have had one more receiving yard so he could have his first career 100 game. But regardless, Tyler Warren's breakout is here. If it wasn't already here to begin with, 8 catches, 99 yards. He had the huge one there in the fourth quarter to help set you up for that field goal. I believe it was the fourth quarter. Or was that overtime? I don't remember. One
Yeah,
of
he
those
had
two.
he had that 4th and 2 that set you up
Yes.
for field goal range in the
Oh,
fourth
yeah.
quarter, and then had
Right.
that big one to put you in field goal range in overtime too. So
Yeah.
critical.
I I mean that catch on fourth down was unbelievable by Tyler Warren. I just got to say that. Like
Mhm.
that was incredible. That catch was amazing from Tyler Warren. I mean, I'm so glad that the Colts got Tyler Warren. He truly
Yep.
is a difference maker at tight end. Like that's one of the missing pieces this Colts offense didn't have a year ago. 'Cause let's be
Yeah.
honest, Derek, no tight end on this roster outside of Tyler Warren makes those plays. None of them do.
Oh,
So
nothing.
just phenomenal. And obviously, like we said, he was part of the entourage leading Jonathan Taylor down there on that big 80+ yard run. So we love Tyler Warren. We love what he does, man. It's just great to see him continue to ball out here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And because I'm sure you saw it because you're one of the main culprits in egging on Bears fans for with the Colston Loveland stuff. And then obviously last week Loveland has one good game in his entire rookie season so far, and then all these Bears fans are like, Warren can't do this, Warren can't do that. It's like, yeah, congrats. We don't play the Bengals defense that doesn't know how to tackle. That's the only way that Loveland's actually been able to do any sort of impact offensively. But, again, Tyler Warren, just another impactful game. And I mean, it was very impactful, making big plays at the end of those games that, continued drives. That 4th and 2 catch that he had, I don't know which person pointed it out, but I think they said that like that had a 21% chance of being complete and getting a first down. And I mean, it's Tyler Warren, man. When you're 6'6" and you're 260 pounds and you're athletic like that, I mean, Tyler Warren just does all the dirty work, man. And I absolutely love it. And it's another great piece to this offense that has allowed the Indianapolis Colts offense to thrive this year because you can utilize him in so many different ways.
And if he doesn't catch that, the game's over. I mean, that's a critical catch in a critical moment. You throw it to a guy you trust, and that is why you took him when you took him
Yep.
in the first round. I mean, right there, living up to all the hype there. Tyler Warren, fantastic stuff. Now, when you're looking at some other pieces here, Derek, Alec Pierce had a really good game. He had a huge touchdown catch from Daniel Jones, that 37-yarder, which was phenomenal. You love to see Alec Pierce. I think that's his first touchdown of the year, crazy enough. But you'll love to see that from Alec Pierce. He's got to get extended. That's got to be your top priority, Derek. If not in season, definitely in the off season. I mean, he's
Yep.
phenomenal. Jonathan Taylor, he actually did a little bit more in the receiving game than we're used to. 3 catches for 42 yards in this game. Pittman, not a lot going on for Pittman in this game, actually. I think he had A.J. Terrell on him pretty much all day, so can't say I blame Pittman because Terrell's one of the best corners in the NFL. But Pierce definitely got his in this game. But you didn't see a lot from the Colts receivers, honestly, outside of Pierce in this game. Pittman had 2 catches for 19. Downs had 1 for 3. So there wasn't a ton going on, Derek, when it comes to that for the Colts receivers today.
It was crazy too because Downs that one of the last sacks that Daniel Jones took, that one sack I mentioned to you early in the game where he was trying to avoid that last defensive lineman trying to make a run for it. Downs was open in the middle of the field. He evaded the linebacker that was guarding him and had Daniel Jones actually just hit him there in the middle. That's a walk-in touchdown for Josh Downs. So again, another one of those situations where Daniel Jones just didn't seem like he was totally locked in with everything that was going on. And and you're right. Like it's kind of upsetting that we didn't get more of Pittman in this game, because Pittman is a great guy to try to move the chains. And I know that they had their best corner on him, but the fact that there was so little effort to get Pittman involved in the offense today was very strange. But nevertheless, like you said, Warren doing what he does and Alec Pierce, yeah, the first touchdown of the season, which is highly insane given the fact that he leads the NFL in yards per catch. And yet somehow, some way, that was his first touchdown of the year. for the Colts is actually insane. But yeah, again, Alec Pierce, another great one. And hopefully the Colts will have a better game plan to get Pittman and Downs utilized going forward.
Hopefully so. Yep. All right. Well, let's flip it over to the defense. We talked about the offense a lot. We haven't really given the defense a lot of conversation yet. But Derek, in this game, you allow Atlanta 25 points. But Derek, I do think, even though I was pretty frustrated at the end of that fourth quarter, that your defense just allowed not just the Falcons to drive down, but also the 2-point conversion. I think the defense did its part for a good chunk of this game. There certainly were
Yeah.
issues, don't get me wrong, but I do think the defense did a pretty solid job all day long, considering what the offense was not doing. I think their defense gave you a chance in this one. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, you're right. Like it was so big chunks or nothing for Atlanta. It felt like early in the game, again, the Colts only gave up 3 points in the second half prior to that touchdown at the very end. Right. So, the Colts defense in general, I did not really think was that bad. I felt like they just weren't aggressive enough. I felt like it was so strange because you got pressure on Michael Penix, and Michael Penix never made you pay for it. There's like the few times that Penix had to roll out of the pocket, or if the Colts were able to get pressure up the gut and Penix had to throw it early, it was always off timing. So I don't know why Lou Anarumo felt so comfortable with not blitzing more frequently. I'd love to know the numbers on how often they did blitz because it didn't feel like enough. Because the Colts, whenever they blitzed, good things typically happened for the Indianapolis Colts, which I don't know why they didn't do more of that. You were trying to stop Bijan Robinson. That boy's going to eat whatever he's going to do. He typically does that. And Cody, it's so strange when you just look at what the Falcons have done this year. They always play up to their level of competition or play down
Mhm.
to their level of competition.
Yep.
The
Yep.
Falcons, they've lost some of the worst games this year when it comes to playing against some bad football teams, and they just get blown out. But when they play good teams, it's like they're able to keep up somehow, some way. And so, I knew it was probably going to be in for a decent game against the Colts, but I mean, again, Drake London, he did what he did. You had to anticipate that he was. I mean, we got to talk about Sauce Gardner. I mean, you can mention that here in a second. Yeah, it was just a couple of mistakes that I felt like the Colts could have taken advantage of defensively, but overall, I didn't think it was terrible.
No, I mean, yeah, outside of that last drive where you just felt like everything was easy, that was the most frustrating part about it. But other than that, like you said, that second half, I felt like that defense played pretty well. And unfortunately, that 2-point conversion soft slips and falls, and it's like, well, what are you going to do? That happens. But I do feel like Derek in his debut, Sauce had a pretty good game from what I understand. Like he almost had a pick there in this game. I mean, the touchdown that Drake London did have was not on Sauce Gardner. It was a linebacker. I think it was Jermaine Pratt covering him there on that one. So I do think that overall, Derek, I liked what Sauce Gardner gave us. But again, I didn't watch the entire game, to be honest with you. I watched most of the second half. So I'm curious what you think in that first half and putting it all together. What were your thoughts on Sauce's debut?
Well, I will say this: that first touchdown that the Falcons scored, where Drake London scored that touchdown over Jermaine Pratt, that was on Sauce Gardner, because Gardner followed the wide receiver in too much and left that side of the field wide open.
Hmm.
And it was a beautiful throw by Penix to put it in there because honestly, Pratt didn't have terrible coverage on him. But yeah, I mean, Gardner at a few times was out of place in this game. But like you said, that one where he almost intercepted it, you're right. Like that was a beautifully well done thing. And that's why I was wondering why Lou Anarumo didn't blitz more often, because that was a play where the Colts, they were showing blitz. They brought 5, and Penix tried to throw it out quickly, and the Colts were just reactive really quickly, and Gardner made a great play. It's just there was a few times where Gardner was a little out of place, but again, he only gave up 2 receptions today on Drake London for 24 yards. The other times where Drake London was not covered by Sauce Gardner, caught all 5 targets for 90 yards and a touchdown. So again, why Lou Anarumo was not shadowing Gardner on Drake London more often, I don't understand it. It was really dumb of him to do that because Drake London was killing the Colts anytime that a linebacker had to cover a spot where Drake London was at. So don't know what that was going on there, but again, I'm glad that we were just able to figure it out and move on from there.
And Sauce gets the same amount of wins today as he's gotten with the entire New York Jets in 2025. Yeah. So good for Sauce, man. But again, like it's a new system a little bit, it's, you're coming off a concussion. Like, don't want to make excuses, but you're like, okay, now you get to week in the system a little bit more, getting ready for Kansas City. Potentially you get back another, really starting at caliber, a great corner in Charvarius Ward. So you're like, okay, like, yeah, it wasn't perfect for Sauce for sure, but like, hey, you know what? Like, we get a chance now to have a little bit of time to figure things out, to kind of build that camaraderie a little bit more. So, yeah, overall, defense was all right in this game. They certainly were pretty good in that second half, outside of, like we said, that last drive. But that defense, I mean, they came through in overtime. They did. They sent Zaire Franklin on that blitz on that third down, and that really helped you out, man. So,
and also Zaire Franklin came in clutch on that last drive.
He did. Sure. He did. And I also like JT Tuimoloau as well. Had some nice moments today.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
a lot of pressures.
A defensive line that is missing their best player in DeForest Buckner. I felt like they did fine in this game. I really do. And I think they got pressure, which is good. Wasn't all the time, certainly, because you're never going to replace Buckner. But I thought the defensive line, when it mattered, the defensive line did a pretty solid job.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think overall, for not blitzing as frequently as we should have, they did get some pressure on Michael Penix, especially late in that game, and it forced them to not really be able to throw the football as well as they wanted. And, and I'll say this, I thought that, they were going to run the football a lot better than they did. Like, obviously, Bijan had himself a decent game, and Algier had a decent game as well. But I honestly felt like it could have been a lot worse, given the circumstances. And that Grover Stewart injury in that second quarter gave me a huge scare. I was really concerned that we were going to be without both Grove and and Buckner in the middle there. So it was good to be able to get him back for that particular moment. And like you said, it wasn't pretty, but the Colts defense did enough to get the job done.
Yeah, they did. They did it, especially when it mattered in crunch time. I mean, they did it. So, and we haven't always seen the Colts do it in crunch time. So they did it in OT, gave your offense a chance. I also want to say, Derek, I felt like you had some really good returns today that set your offense up super well. I mean, Amir Abdullah had a huge one. I think in that fourth quarter, that last drive, Amir Abdullah returns that and gets you out to almost midfield. And then Josh Downs had a couple nice ones as well from the punt return standpoint, which typically isn't his forte. It's typically, obviously Anthony Gould's forte there. But Derek, I don't know if you ever had, I don't know if you said it out loud, but did you ever have a moment where you're like, who's to? Oh, that's Downs.
No, I didn't have that. I knew it. I was able to mentally prepare for that, given the fact that I watch Ohio State, so I knew the the Downs brothers, obviously. So it helps me out a little bit. But you're right. I mean, the returns and even the kickoff coverage were very good today. Very good kickoff coverage. And then even Doolin, dude. Even Doolin on that second to last drive, Doolin got us into Atlanta territory. So, I mean, we had a lot of very good special team stuff today from that aspect. Obviously, from the kicking aspect, not a good day at all from that perspective. But just from the kickoff coverage and return ideas, the Colts were very good in that today.
Yeah, they were. Well, let's just talk about the kicker. I mean, we miss Spencer Schrader. I'll just say that. But Michael Badgley, the extra point missed. He misses the field goal. And Derek, you think, gosh, if you just would have hit that extra point, they wouldn't have had to go to overtime. But
Yeah.
regardless, after that old debacle happened, Michael Badgley was fine. He kicked 2 field goals that were critical in this game. He kicked the one, I believe it was was that the third or fourth? I think it was the fourth quarter, and then he kicked the one to send it to OT. So, yeah, it wasn't a great performance. Don't get me wrong, from Spencer Schrader or from Michael Badgley. I keep saying Spencer Schrader, from Michael Badgley, but after kind of settled down a little bit, the next 2 kicks, they were critical kicks, and he made them. So,
yeah,
again,
definitely.
Yeah, it was frustrating, but I kind of look at this and I say, look, sometimes crap happens. How do you respond from that? And I thought Michael Badgley responded well, and he made the kicks when he needed to make them in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it sucks that we felt like we can't send our kicker out to have enough leg to get a 53-yarder. That doesn't instill a ton of confidence in you. And obviously, missing that extra point at the start, absolutely sucks. I mean, good Lord, just make the easy ones, please. Because that's not even the first one that he's missed. And, that's a really unfortunate thing, because that can really screw you over in these close games like this. Thankfully, it didn't this time around. I will say this, Cody. I mean, again, that is where the aggressiveness of Shane Steichen today kind of hurt us. I understand that, when the Colts get in these certain situations, the Colts like to go for it on fourth down, clearly. But 2 turnover on downs today, I mean, that's 6 points you could have probably gotten that, we may not be in overtime and may not have to worry about it as much if Shane Steichen says, okay, I'm going to go for the points. That first drive, you're going down the field, it's 4th and 3. Probably should have just kicked it. Would have been a 45-yarder, definitely within Badgley's range, and he usually makes those 40-yarders. Should have probably just went for it there. And then obviously, I know the Colts were in a chance to be able to try and get for a touchdown in that situation. But again, if you choose to go for the points, then that's a different situation. I mean, the Colts are in a better spot and, maybe able to do more good things. But I felt like the Colts, just from that perspective of trying to kick, it wasn't very handled well today.
No, it wasn't. But hopefully that's a good sign for Badgley that he responded well after that. But I wouldn't be surprised at all, Derek, saying that if the Colts try out some kickers, because that stuff, I mean, that's points left on the field that really hurts you. So that is the thing. And also, you got fortunate on that one kickoff that you had some good coverage there, because Badgley did not do well on that kickoff in that fourth quarter. I mean, that last drive that they had before we sent it to overtime, so that kind of stuff is concerning to me as well, because if Badgley can't even do kickoffs correctly, maybe we need to be looking at somebody else that can do that stuff, because can't make extra points, you're missing field goals, and you're messing up with the kickoffs. I don't know, man. I'm kind of concerned about that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely all questions that are going to need to be answered going forward, because you obviously, when you're going to face these really good teams coming up, you can't have those kinds of mistakes, because it's going to end up costing you. And Cody, I don't know if you did you see the clip from what people were saying about the officials messing up spots? The spot on the field?
Yeah, I did see something about that. Yeah.
Dude, so it was all day. The spots were absolutely garbage. So that play, and this is what's crazy too, because it cost the Colts a drive, Cody. That opening drive, the spot where that official put us, that cost us the drive. It did, because Jonathan Taylor gets what most of us presume to be a first down, because he was even if he didn't get the first down, it was within half a yard. It was super close. He got brought down at the line. And then the FAR judge says, no, he's 2.5 yards shy of where he actually went down. So what should have been a first down on that 2nd and 7, it turned out to be a 3rd and 3. Because he said, no, his knee went down early. And it's No, it was an offensive lineman's knee that went down. He just saw a knee down and he said, no, he got down. Like, and they didn't even question it. Steichen didn't question it. The other officials didn't question it. Nobody questioned it. So it was 3rd and 3 instead of being a 1st down and 10. And then the Colts pass it 2 times in a row to try to get the 1st down, and we don't get the 1st. So that screwed us out of a drive because the officials said he was down 3 yards prior to what he actually was. It was ridiculous.
Well, yeah, obviously I didn't watch the first half, so I didn't get to see that. That's insane. Wow.
Yeah, it
Okay.
is insane, brother. Like, go watch it again and just be like, how in the world did an official possibly think that Jonathan Taylor was down 3 yards prior to that? It was terrible.
Insane. Well, all that to say, a very up and down game, but a dub's a dub. Win in overtime. Colts' first overtime of the year, and the Colts win. So they're 1-0 in overtime. That's great news. And yeah, guys, Colts head into the bye 8-2 with obviously some question marks, but definitely should feel pretty good about where they're at right now. And hopefully, like I said, they maybe will get a couple guys back here. We'll have to see. But guys, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below when it comes to this game. Also, shout out to FanDuel as well, guys. Be sure to check them out. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, go Colts.